Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Why Are You an Entrepreneur? The Trials and Triumphs. I'm Maureen Edwards with 8 Simple Steps. And for those of you just coming in on the replay or for tuning in for the first time, I am all about entrepreneurship and small business owners and really taking the hard out of building a business, starting a business, or scaling a business. And one of the reasons why I came up with Why Are You an Entrepreneur is so that I could highlight some of the best rock stars in the entrepreneurial world from all over the world. You know, we've had people from everywhere. It gives you an opportunity to see other people who are traveling that entrepreneurial journey and have some good inspiration, words of wisdom, tips, best practices that I know you can pick up on. And tonight, no exception. I have Jessie Hernandez, who is the podcast creator and host of Learnings and Missteps. Welcome, Rockstar. How are you?
Hello, Maureen. I am doing very, very well. Excited to be here.
I am excited to have you because, you know, when we decided to do this, I knew you were going to be like the most amazing guest just because of the energy, the positivity, the mindset you have. And I think you're going to tell us all about how you're capitalizing on these talents that you have. So I always start out with, why are you an entrepreneur? How did you get here?
Oh, it was by almost by accident, but not really. I launched the podcast, Learnings and Missteps, and I launched that back. It's been over 2 years now, like 2 years and a few months. And that was really just an outlet for me to enhance the image of careers in the trades because I'm a plumber by trade. I came up through the trades side in construction. Um, so that was just I wanted to do that. Like I couldn't go speak at schools because the lockdown, nobody was in school anymore. I wasn't talking to kids, which I really love doing. And then, well, podcast, like I could talk to everybody, well, whoever listens. And I was still working my job. I was traveling around the central United States supporting business units. Now, in my job, here's another thing that happened during the lockdown. Because I was in a traveling role, I had to stay home. Like they said, no more traveling for you.
So how do you do your job, right?
So I had to learn, a lot of what I was doing then was like facilitating workshops and coaching. And I was always like anti-technology. Like there's no way we can accomplish these things without in-person contact. Well, all of a sudden I had to learn how to do my job remotely. One of the things I discovered was, yeah, in person is fun, right? Like there is an element, a special element in the in-person interactions. But I also discovered just because every virtual experience I've been on has not been amazing, it doesn't mean I have to be less than amazing.
Right.
And so I could still transfer my energy and my excitement and knowledge or whatever I got, and found out like, oh, if I use this tool, I got introduced to Teams and all these other things. And so I was able to do that. But it became really apparent that what I enjoyed the most about the job was the one-on-one coaching that I was doing with people, because then I could see the impact, like the change in thinking and the impact in the way they were treating their team, the way their direct reports were experiencing life at work, and the way their lives stabilized to a degree. And I was like, oh my goodness, how do I do this full time? But my job wasn't designed for me to do it full time. So I said, okay, I did some quick math. How much do I spend a month? And I'm pretty frugal. So my lifestyle costs this much. Multiplied that times 18. It's okay. I need to get this much money in the bank. And I'm going to buy a house because I need like a real job to get the house financed because I want to renovate the other house. But that's another story. And so I went working down that path for about 18 months, met the goals, and launched the business. But the indicator that it was time to launch, because that was like a 5-year plan. People started calling me. I got a random call from a good friend now. He was in Boston, now he's in Florida. And he was like, hey man, I need your help. And I was like, what are you talking about? I thought he wanted to be on the podcast. That's not what he wanted. He said, man, I need help. I'm trying to design a leadership development program for my crews, and it sounds like you can help me. I said, who told you to call me? He's like, no, it's from the podcast. I heard your style, the way you interact with people, and the experience that you have. Like, can you do this? I'm like, man, I got a full-time job. Like, not really. And so that was the first time. And then since then, like several times, several people would do that. And I'm like, man, like if I'm a move, I gotta move now.
Yeah.
And so that, I quit the last job, still didn't have my website set up, still didn't have my email, like all the stuff, right? Like I'm figuring it out along the way. And then I started getting business. And so that was like one of the really surprising things, that I started getting business right out of the gate. And my takeaway from that was, I've been serving people for a very long period of time, and I wasn't thinking of it in those terms. And so what people recognized was whatever value I had provided to them in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, they were ready to hire me independently. And the reason that's important is because I was a big jerkhead a long time ago. And if I was still a very selfish, self-centered jerkhead, my business, I would not be having any revenue right now. But because I began valuing relationships and valuing people, I credit that 100% for the amount of business that I have currently.
I love everything you said here. The one thing is you prepared. A lot of people would have maybe just jumped into it, but you actually had a prep plan. It wasn't just a side hustle. I always say on the show, I do not like to call it side hustle, because you were actually planning. It wasn't just a freelance. It wasn't just for an extra money for vacation. You were planning to take the leap. And that's the first thing I say to people. Until you do, like you did the best thing, add up how much it's going to cost, put that money away, hit those milestones, and then you don't have the stress of what it takes to search for business. But and I just love how you went for it, because you had indicators of people out there who wanted you to show up for them. And so tell me, what was the greatest challenge though, from going, that corporate type position, that steady paycheck, you're working for somebody else, but what was the greatest challenge when you started your business?
Me, like the head garbage. That was so, like I started working that exit plan back in whatever, June of, 2019 or 2020, whatever it was. Anyways, the first June in COVID. That's when I started.
Yeah.
Was it 2020? Okay, 2020. And like the money piece was easy, because you just save the money, don't spend it, right? Like no more tacos every day and no more expensive coffees, whatever. The house piece wasn't that hard, just buy a house. But in my head, because I wanted to have like real deep impact and interactions with people, building a business on that was going to be difficult, because it's a high touch situation. And I don't have a college degree. I don't have a lot of letters after my name. I don't have a lot of certificate. Like I don't have a lot of credentialing and stuff.
You don't need them.
I didn't know that, right? Like I've always, I had my plumbing license and this sort of thing, but for this type of work, I didn't have any credentials. And I took another job. I left the one awesome job, which was like a central region job, to a national responsibility. And the organization, what they asked me to do was come and help them transform their culture. And I'm like, that sounds awesome. But I was thinking about my business, because I knew I was going to be launching a business. And I thought, if I go work for this national brand and play a significant role in the transformation of their culture, I will have earned credibility so that I can start my business. Now, what was happening at the same time, kind of back to the podcast, launched the podcast, got introduced to live streaming, had an idea about having a live stream around some letters that I got from an ex romantic relationship. And so we started having these live stream conversations with Jennifer Lacey. And through those conversations, and here's like a key point, I think, for a lot of people out there that are on the entrepreneurial path. Through those conversations, I was able to just be me. I mean, not like able, but like I'm in my house and I could behave the way I want to behave. And the combination of that live stream and the podcast, what that does is it helps people really understand who I am.
Right.
And if they don't like my energy, they don't have to pick me. But if they like high energy, goofy, crazy, kind of informal, I'm your guy.
Yeah.
So it was like marketing happening all the time in terms of introducing me to people and people getting a good understanding of what they're going to be dealing with if they decide to sign up with me. So, and that the frequency of people reaching out for help or for coaching or whatever continued to increase. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I already have credibility. So that was the huge thing. That's why I'm saying the head garbage was I did not believe I had credibility or that I was equipped to deliver any value to anyone unless I had like this big flashy accomplishment.
So did you feel like you suffered from a little bit of imposter syndrome? Like I'm just kind of floating around and,
Not a little bit.
A lot.
Yeah.
I was being nice. It was a lot that you had to get over. And
yes.
I am not about degrees. I really am not, because I've seen unbelievable, exceptional success by just hard work, sound judgment, building partnerships, and just being resilient. Okay. Mm-hmm. You don't need to have all of those credentials, because people who don't have all of what I just said have a hard time making it, whether it's their own business or just in general.
100%.
Right?
Yes.
So I love the fact that anybody out there who's feeling like you don't have credibility, take a step back. The biggest thing you have credibility with is taking the risk, the calculated risk, and you have so much courage to do what most people can't. Mm-hmm. There's your credibility.
Yes. Just going from 0 to 1 is the biggest step.
Yep.
Going from not having a podcast to having a podcast, the decision to put myself out there was huge. It was scary. It was intimidating.
Yeah.
After I did it, like everything else opened up. And so that's another thing. Like there's no I mean, I did a little bit of research, YouTube and whatever, on starting a business. And I mean, there wasn't a map that I could use to do what I wanted to do.
Right.
And so then I started thinking about maps. Like, okay, how do they create maps? Nobody draws the map and then travels the terrain. They travel the terrain and then draw a map of what they discovered along the way. And I said, okay, this is what I need. So it is, what is the next rightest step? Is it in service to others? If the answer is yes, I'm going to take that step. And as I continue doing that, the path reveals itself. Like I don't need all the answers I'm seeking are on the other side of action. Like I have to do it to learn what it is I'm worried about. Like, but it's not like that's not comfortable.
I guess that's my next question for you. Is there a mistake that you have made that you're willing to share in this journey as an entrepreneur that kind of stands out, that you besides kind of trying to get over your own maybe feeling of uncomfortable about not having degrees? Is there a mistake in this process that you could help others?
Yes. And this one's a pretty recent one. So in October, my calendar was pretty open through the rest of the year. And because of, my lifestyle's changed dramatically. I mean, I've only been doing it since April. And I hit my revenue target. Like I hit my revenue target for the year in the first 60 days. So it's like I'm blessed. I'm really blessed. Anyhow, my calendar wasn't full. and I have ideas because now I can make a bigger investment in self-care. And like a byproduct of that is I get more ideas, I get more creative, and I'm
Right.
around more amazing people. And so that just exponentially grows. Anyhow, my calendar was open ish, and I had these ideas. So I'm like, well, I don't have a whole lot going on. So I'm going to go ahead and start moving on these ideas. Right. We had just finished the Lean and Love book, just released that. So that was a big deal. I started working on the second book, which is I finished the manuscript this Monday on the second book.
Awesome.
And so I launched these, like kind of got the ball rolling on these ideas. And then at the same time, I got requests from clients, which like that, the services were in November and December. And so then I kind of got in this mode of like trying to do everything. And then I stopped running. I just got the unhealthy patterns that I usually live came back. And I turned around, October's gone, and I got nothing done. Like all I was doing was busy moving things around. So the mistake was not accounting or blocking out time to serve clients. So what I've done since then is like, okay, I'm going to block out specific amounts of time for every month so that when I do have a client, because the history proves that I'm going to get clientele and they may need services like next month or like immediately. And so if I dedicate a percentage of the month for that, when the ask comes, I can say, okay, let's do it on in this time frame. And I also know that I don't have a whole month to go mess around with my crazy ideas. So
I think this is important because this is all about prioritizing. And at the end of the day, you have to prioritize your clients or the prospects coming in because you don't have any revenue. I mean, yeah, you may have made the revenue targets, right? Which is great. But getting extra and putting it in the bank for any emergency is, hey, let's talk. And then we've got 2023 coming up. You want to have a strong year. So I think that's great advice, setting aside, that time, for the, being that for productivity is really what it is. It's business productivity and then personal productivity.
100%.
So I have a question as far as your marketing. Now, you do the podcasting, and that seems to give you great reach, brand recognition. People are coming to you. But is there another platform out there or something else that's helping you that could help others out there?
Yes. I mean, it's social media. So before I launched the podcast, I had a Facebook account and I had a LinkedIn account. My Facebook account was just for me to post dumb stuff and keep in touch with my friends, like really inappropriate stuff. So don't go back past 2020 if you're going to look me up, because that's a different time. And LinkedIn was really like kind of professional connection, but I really liked reading the articles, and that's all I used it for. I didn't use it for anything else. Well, I launched the podcast, and then it's like, well, I'm not getting a lot of reach, and you do some research, and like, we'll post stuff on social media. Okay, so I started doing that, and it was a transition in my thinking that had to happen, because when I think of it in terms of social media, I think of it in terms of just wasting time when I'm waiting to get on a plane, or when I'm at the grocery store waiting for people to handwrite a check. That drives me nuts. Anyways, to social marketing. And so when I started, I'm like, oh, I can get my message out. I can demonstrate my capabilities and my thinking through social media and still be social, like interact with people, but expand my reach and really give more people the opportunity to find me. Because that's the thing, right? Is I gotta be findable. And my people, like the people that like this flavor, they're out there, but they don't live down the street. And so I got to put it out there so that people can find me. So it's social market, like the socials, TikTok, man, I'm like TikTok famous. I got like 300 followers, girl. Watch out. I don't do the dances. Like that's fans only content. So TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, What's the other one? Instagram. And I mess around with Twitter a little bit, but so I have accounts and I'm active on all of them.
Wow.
And
That's
that
amazing. And Clubhouse. Like
oh
you're
yeah,
on
and Clubhouse.
everything.
Yes. That like for real, that's work. Like
Oh,
producing the content. I
yes.
mean, I'm fortunate in that I've got, some cash flow. And so I've hired help. My sister-in-law, actually, she cuts all my content for me because I record a podcast or whatever. I upload it. She picks the clips, edits them out. And then all I do is publish them and, write something goofy and post the bad boy. But it's hours of work.
It's a lot of work. And that's why I say for entrepreneurs, maybe who are just venturing in and you're having to wear so many hats, pick just one or two platforms, dip your toes into it, get yourself acclimated with how to navigate through them, see the results. And then maybe when you can hire a VA or, an assistant of some sort, you can turn it over. But I will tell you, having all of those platforms, that is like a full-time job right there.
Totally is.
And then your podcast. So I'm wondering how you're ever like seeing clients, but that, I think you're handling it quite well.
Yes.
So what do you feel is the greatest success you've had so far in your business?
That's a really good one. I think the greatest success I've had through this is really, really understanding or building an appreciation for relationships. Like my nature, I come up through the trades. I'm kind of mathy type thinking. I've been called the Tin Man and what's that guy's Sheldon, and because I'm kind of super factual, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even though I'm funny, the way I process things it's like super matter of fact.
Yeah.
And I kind of equate everything to time and money. Like somebody wants to go to dinner. Okay, that's 3.5 hours. Like that better be a good time because I got things to do 3.5 hours. Anyways, through this, what I think the triumph is that I now have a deeper appreciation for relationships. Like being invited to dinner after work when I had the full-time job, I was like, why am I going to do that? I'm going to see you tomorrow.
Right.
But dinner is kind of where some of the meaningful interactions happen, right?
Yes.
The more vulnerable type interactions happen. And so along the way, with the live streams, with the book, and with the community that's been growing with No BS with Jen and Jess, because we have that live stream every other Saturday. What I've learned is the relationships, I appreciate them, but more importantly, for those relationships to happen, I have to demonstrate vulnerability, period. So demonstrating vulnerability signals to people that I'm human and it's okay to be human around me.
Yeah.
And then we can connect in a deeper manner and amazing magical things can happen.
Yeah. So who is one of your favorite clients? You don't have to give the name, but was there somebody special that you did an event or a program or a leadership conference and workshop for that just stands out?
So I'm going to go general and then I'll get more specific. So my favorite type of client are the leaders that are reaching out because they want to make things better for their people. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they're not like dropping their car off at the oil shop to get the oil changed while they sit down and read their magazine. They're in there helping change the oil, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of different. And so those leaders that are want to do things, want to be a better servant leader to their team and prepared to get their hands dirty and be involved in the change that they're seeking. That's my favorite type of client.
Yeah.
The highlight, there's a bunch of them, but the highlight right now is one individual who was in one of the workshops that I had done previously with the previous employer. He was faced with the problem, like a real business problem on a project, and reached out and said, hey, man. And actually, when we were doing that, I was trying to recruit him to come work on my team because of the way he appreciated people. Anyways, he reached out and he's like, hey, this is our problem. I know that thing that we were learning can help our problem. Will you do this for us? And I said, absolutely, because he understood the value. He put the time in. So it's not like it wasn't like my mom telling me I better get straight A's and I'm in calculus and she can't help me with my homework. Like he knows. And he was willing to put himself on the line on that project and with the organization to say, we're going to make this investment, bring this wacky, crazy guy in here to try to get us back on schedule. Like it's a real thing. It's like pretty intense. But so it's that, for a lot of reasons, the relationship, the fact that he put in the time, the sweat equity to understand the methodology, and then go out on a limb and get this crazy guy that just started his own business to come in and because it's invasive, to come in and be a part of this team.
Yeah.
It was a lot of risk for him, and I'm grateful for that.
So where do you expect this company to go? Like in the next year, where do you want to take it?
In the next year, I'm anticipating that I will be doing more of, so one of the services is, I call it sweat equity improvement. And it's helping leaders learn, leaving them with the thinking to redesign burdensome work. And so this 2023, I'm anticipating that to grow, to expand in terms of asks, people wanting that. The other thing I'm seeing is the opportunity to spend intimate time with leaders and their direct reports, because the function, the button pushing, the doing of the job, that's easy, and it doesn't matter what job. Like building a building, it's not hard. The hard part is the relationship piece, and so helping translate or kind of be the Rosetta Stone that helps the leader and their team understand why they're missing. I think that's going to pick up a whole bunch.
I think so too. So what would be maybe just a quote or a Jesseism of inspiration for entrepreneurs out there? What would you want to leave them with?
So a Jesseism, I got a bunch of them, and now I'm drawing a blank. So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use a quote that's impacted my life tremendously. And the quote is, there is a space between stimulus and response. And within that space lies our power to choose. And the more I choose, the more I expand the space and have greater and greater control over the outcomes that I'm seeking. That's not the exact quote. That's my version of it.
So if people want to get a hold of you, how do they reach out and find you to talk about what you do for them?
Oh, yes. Thank you. So I got the website, depthbuilder.com, depth like in deep relationships.
Yeah, I like it.
Right. So depthbuilder.com. I'm on all the socials, on LinkedIn. Well, if you go to the website, you scroll down and that's where you pick all the buttons. It'll take you to my stuff. And LinkedIn is where I spend most of my time.
Yeah.
But anywhere else, like if you comment, I'm gonna comment back. I'm gonna follow you. We're gonna connect somehow, because that's fun. Like it get that little shot of dopamine. And there you could also access the book, Lean in Love. There's a little button for that. The second book that I just finished the manuscript for. You want to guess what the name of the second book's going to be?
Depth Climber.
No, close. It's going to be like super creative. Learnings and Missteps.
Okay.
My path to becoming the promise I'm intended to be.
I love it. And yes. I do love how you're changing one world at a time. That's right? It.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that one. Yes.
I remembered it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, because that's it. We can change the world one world at a time.
Yeah.
If I share a smile with you and you're grumpy, that smile might be nice. And I just had an impact on the world of Maureen. And if I go on demonstrating appreciation, acceptance, love, I can do that. I can have an impact one person at a time.
And you definitely made an impact tonight. And I want to say thank you to you for that. So, will you come back as I find that maybe you have launched that second book and you want to let people know about it? Will you come back and share?
Absolutely. Actually, yeah. The answer is yes.
Yes.
And I'm like just looking at KDP right now because the Lean in Love journal is going to be available like hopefully today or tomorrow.
Okay.
So I guess I'll see you Saturday. We'll do this on Saturday once it hits.
Sounds good. Now, if people want to buy that, is it on Amazon or do they need to go to your website for
No,
it?
it'll be on Amazon.
Okay.
Super easy access. Lean in Love.
Okay, perfect. So for everybody out there, please go ahead and check that out. Learn more about Jesse and the inspiration he can bring to all of you. So I want to say thank you, Jesse, and thank you, everybody tuning in. Thank you to those who are watching the replay. If you need anything from me to take the heart out of entrepreneurship, reach out to 8simplesteps.net. I'm here for you. And next week, I'll be back with another rockstar entrepreneur for another rockstar conversation. And I really hope that after listening to Jesse tonight, you have a lot to walk away with because I do. All right. Good night, everybody.